Bitcoin continues to grind up back above 68,000. It's looking more and more like Bitcoin wants to find its way up to this 70 to 72,000 zone right up here. Again, great hit of this trend line down here, literally hammered it and then just shot to the upside. Notice there was a little bottoming tail here on the chart. If you know your bottoming tails, your technical analysis, good reversal signal. You even got a 50% retrace here, then up and away. But this is going to be the first big test for Bitcoin right around 70 to 72,000.
Bitcoin Zella stands out with its simplicity and clarity. We've crafted an experience that anyone can dive into, whether you're a crypto expert or just a new to the crypto world. Now guess who keeps his eye on us? The author of best-selling book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And we want to take this opportunity and thank all the people who trusted us, and we read every comment. And the best part, it's free. Subscribing now means you will get all new information for free. Don't just follow the trends, stay ahead of them. Subscribe to Bitcoin Zella today and enjoy the new edge. Let's join Gareth in this video about Bitcoin and more.
Let's take a look at some of the key movers today. Dow Jones Industrial Average up 138 points. The NASDAQ, the big winner today, 300-point gain. That is a gain of 1.7%. The S&P is up 1% at 59 point plus. And oil today, slight downside. We have gold flat fractionally lower, and Bitcoin still holding some gains at around 68,250. If we look at the heat map, you can see it as clear as day here, right? Where's the big green? NVIDIA, 4.6%. All right, Microsoft, Google, Meta right here. So these are the big players. Now, remember, last week, this was the red zone. This was the big red zone, and we saw a lot of green in here. Today, it's much more mixed. We do see a little bit more red in this area, but in all fairness, there's a fair amount of green. So it's a general broad-based rally, but nonetheless, the big cap tech names are leading the charge. All right, couple things we want to go over as we get into some charts. The S&P on an intraday basis, take a look. Today, very quiet. So why is today quiet? Well, number one, we have a lot of big economic news later this week. Friday, for instance, the PCE inflation data will be out. Next week, by the way, the Federal Reserve meeting is held with interest rate guidance as well. In addition, this week, we have mega cap earnings tech. Tomorrow after the bell, we have Tesla, we have Google/Alphabet, and even today after the bell, NXPI Semiconductor is coming out, which will be very key. All right, so S&P 500 today, a lot of chop early in the day. When you see this chop early in the day, you see how it went up, down, up, down. That's because you still have some weak hands that are a little skittish from last week. So as you had buyers, they were selling into it. Buyers came in, they were selling into it. Once that got taken care of and those sellers got out, then it went into float mode to the upside for the remainder of the day. So again, pretty standard day. Volume very, very light today because, again, there just wasn't a lot of earnings. This morning, we got earnings from Verizon. That wasn't the greatest, but Verizon's not a big mover. We don't see major moves in the market because Verizon did really well or didn't do very well. All right, couple charts that we want to take a look at here as we're getting into earnings. Number one, let's look at the S&P 500. If you looked at this, I've shown this chart over and over again to you guys. Clear as day, we have this channel. And again, we were right at the low end on Friday, so it made sense that we should get a bounce there. If I zoom into this, you guys can see it a little bit better. You can see, again, we came right to the low end, and there's your little bounce. My guess is you might have a little bit more upside, but the midpoint, this dotted line, I don't know if you can see it, that will be a lot of resistance right there on the chart.
Bitcoin faces potential profit-taking and price weakness despite a surge in institutional buying, with recent ETF inflows surpassing $500 million. Bitcoin may experience a phase of profit-taking and potential price weakness even as institutional buying increases. Historical data shows that significant ETF inflows, such as the $526 million into BlackRock's IBIT, often lead to sell-offs. Bitcoin ETF inflows reached $533.6 million on July 23, the highest since March, but Bitcoin's price remains cautious, currently trading around $66,550, down 1.5% for the day. Sustaining Bitcoin's price requires consistent spot demand, absorption of supply by spot takers, and overall seller absorption. These factors are crucial for maintaining upward momentum. Ethereum ETFs, set to begin trading on July 23, have not yet impacted Ethereum's price significantly, with Ethereum/UST up just 1.5% for the past week and flat on the day. Former President Donald Trump's recent statements about El Salvador's crime reduction were fact-checked and found to be false, attributing the drop in murders to President Nayib Bukel's anti-crime measures instead.
I do want to show you the NVIDIA chart because the NVIDIA chart's very interesting here. So if we flip over to NVDA, we can see that NVIDIA's gotten a great bounce today, up about just under 5%. Now, one of the things that I know from it being a technician in the charts is that once we break this key trend line becomes resistance. And so what oftentimes happens is what I call the scene of the crime retrace. So you have the breakdown, and then notice how price gets drawn back there. So you have a couple things. Number one, there's a gap fill right here. So that's going to be resistance. You also have that upsloping trend line as well. And what's fascinating here, if you take the all-time high right here to this low right here, that happens to also be a Fibonacci 382 retrace. So you actually have a 3x factor right at that point, which is going to be major resistance. So as a technician, what I would expect is I think price gets drawn back in here over the next few days, but likely gets rejected there and starts another leg lower that eventually takes us down into these trend lines down in this zone, anywhere between about $105 and $95. Lots of technical support on NVIDIA. Gold today, very muted price action on gold, just fractionally lower. I do think, again, based on the rollover, there's this upsloping trend line around 2375, 2370. That looks to be like where it's headed. If we look at a chart here, you can see that intersecting right there, you have these little pivot points as well, right? So high here, and that all comes right into this zone here. So you have price coming down into that. We'll see if it can get a bounce and start to break to the upside on the chart of gold. Silver, kind of the same thing, was down a little bit more early, but ultimately has come back up. If we zoom in on that, you can see it did kiss this lower white trend line, which has been the low from right here to right here. And again, the big question is, and this is really important for silver, because if silver can't hold this level, it's going all the way down here, probably into the $26 range. So this is a very pivotal level. Downsloping channel, retrace to the scene of the crime, this white trend line coming through. This is what you need to see if you're a bull on silver. If it gets down here, it's likely going down into the 26 zone.
Spot Ethereum ETF are set to debut on July 23, 2024, following SEC approval. BlackRock's iShares Ethereum Trust ETF will commence trading on NASDAQ, featuring a one-year fee waiver. Spot Ethereum Exchange-Traded Funds, ETF, are set to launch on Tuesday, July 23, 2024, following approval from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. This marks a significant milestone in the cryptocurrency market, providing investors with new opportunities to gain exposure to Ethereum. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, announced that its iShares Ethereum Trust ETF, ETHA, will commence trading on NASDAQ. ETHA will feature a one-year fee waiver of 0.12% for the first $2.5 billion in assets under management (AUM). Grayscale will transform its Ethereum Trust, ETHE, into a publicly traded fund and launch the Ethereum Mini Trust, Ethereum. Bloomberg ETF analyst Eric Palchinas confirmed the listings, indicating a significant step forward for digital asset investment. Jay Jacobs, U.S. head of thematic and active ETF at BlackRock, emphasized the growing interest in digital assets and the convenience of exchange-traded products, ETPs. If you've been with us so far, a big thank you. Don't forget to subscribe for free to Bitcoin Zella for your daily news. The link is waiting below. That's all for today's crypto news. Stick around for more updates, insights, and analysis on cryptocurrencies. Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more exciting content.